Hello, everyone. Hope everybody is maintaining their mental sanity in this crazy environment. We just had a really super productive and proactive discussion over in Team DC dealing with a lot of the issues we're dealing with right now. I will be summarizing those in this call. First off, just want to say it's good to be back. I took a few weeks off and recharged the batteries. I was real fucking burned out, to be honest. And I didn't really realize it until I took that time off. So if you feel the same way, maybe try to find some time this summer to unwind a little bit, especially in crypto and especially in a shitty market. It can be a real slog sometimes. And of course, crypto is so quickly moving and everything is dramatic, and you got to take care of yourself first. Thank you to Willie for leading the last 2 office hours, and to everybody in Tokenomics for holding down the fort and contributing in my absence. So the big thing right now, obviously, is the market is getting destroyed. There is no real bottom in sight. Perhaps we're close to a bottom. I would say we're a lot closer to a bottom than we were to the top. So, of course, the question is, where is the bottom? I would feel a lot more confident in the bottom being soon if it wasn't for this awful macro, specifically high inflation, which is encouraging the Fed to raise interest rates more, which in turn leads to more selling of assets further out on the risk curve, of which crypto occupies the furthest extreme. Of course, with Fox, this is a big challenge because we're a long tail asset in this very risky asset class. Thus, we tend to get hammered even more than, say, ETH. This is a very common tendency that's been in effect since the ICO bubble. The longer tail assets tend to go down more, whereas Bitcoin tends to outperform. And once again, we're seeing that for all the talk of the flippening and ETH moving to doing the merge, moving to proof of stake, and all that positivity. At least for now, the ratio and with Bitcoin is going lower. Bitcoin's outperforming. We've seen this story several times play out. So, I just want to use today to sort of summarize where we're at, kind of talk through, just our current situation, give you some updates, and of course, hang out like we always do because it's always fun. So first and foremost is excuse me. In terms of our runway, this is, of course, one of the most important questions we have right now, or important things to keep an eye on, especially with Fox dropping so much. We've been planning for this day. Unfortunately, we weren't able to accumulate as many stables as we wanted, but we've been stacking stables since Fox was much higher in anticipation of a bear market that is here in a very ferocious way. In terms of where we're currently at, I'm just going to share this link. In the past, maybe somebody could share it now. We have I posted the Treasury wallet spreadsheet that Darwin so meticulously crafted. That gives you a very updated sense of where we're at. So, based on that, I've then created a runway projection spreadsheet. I'll post it right here. So this is starting with basically, okay, how much do we have now? What is our monthly spend? And then what does that look like in terms of how much we'll have over time? We've been kind of talking about this and keeping track of it and doing this in a less sort of quantified way. It's easy to sort of do the napkin math. But thanks to Hunt for the suggestion just to throw this together in a more easy to read fashion. So I did that over the weekend. So we have 5.33 million of stables currently. Our monthly spend for there's a little bit of nuance here. Our monthly spend for June will actually be closer to 600K, but that's due to a sort of a one-off cost related to smart contract auditing. Taking that away, it's projected monthly spend for July is more like 538. So, this is elevated from previous levels, but already we're starting to get some control over our budget here and rein it in terms of that spend. So just given all that, and again, these are projections, they're not designed to be super specific and accurate, and there will be other expenses coming up, but just based on this, we have enough runway currently to last us until March 2023, so 11 months of runway, and actually into, arguably into April, but right around there. I also created tabs to model out what would things look like if a various amounts of budget reductions were implemented. So if you click over to the 10% tab, you can see, okay, where would we be if we, if we implemented a 10% budget reduction in July? That only gives us an extra month. So, 10% really is not going to make much of a difference. Things get more interesting if we implement a quarter or a 25% budget reduction. That takes us down to about 400K monthly spend relative to current levels. And that gives us an extra quarter, which is, that's no small thing. 3 months in crypto is like 3 years in regular time. So that's pretty powerful. And then it gets even more compelling, if you go further out. If we could reduce our budget by a third, that gives us, that we go from 11 months up to 16 months. So you can kind of play around with the numbers here by manually entering them. It was kind of a quick and dirty spreadsheet, so I apologize for not making it more, easier to just, like with formulas and stuff. But if you take a look, you can just kind of like enter those different values. One important caveat here is that this represents a overly optimistic view because there will be expenses related to debt service, which we'll get into soon. So this is actually overly sunny of a projection, but definitely very, somewhat providing a good view of where we're at right now. We can get into that nuance shortly. So yeah, I encourage you to take that link, make a copy of it, and then just play around with the numbers if you like. I think the most important takeaway here is that we are capitalized for the immediate future. We're not, despite the turmoil in crypto and all this chaos and fear and things collapsing, we are sufficiently collateralized for the near term here, meaning 3, 6, 9 months. Beyond that, of course, is a big challenge. We have to very carefully and cleverly navigate this environment. This is the real deal, guys. This is a bear market. I'm sure you guys have seen. Coinbase is doing layoffs. BlockFi. Some projects have completely collapsed. Celsius appears to be insolvent. They used to be the biggest name in the lending game. Of course, we saw what happened to Luna. But in terms of actual, DAO treasuries, I would bet a good amount of ETH that we're going to see various DAOs fail because they are not sufficiently collateralized. So we need to be very clever and deliberate with this. Luckily, there's a lot of smart people on the tokenomics team and in this community, and I remain super optimistic we're gonna deal with this challenge and make it through to a brighter future. Pause real quick and check the chat. Good caveat from John there. And this actually leads into another point I have. That runway in the spreadsheet assumes all major expenses are paid in stables, and also that we're not actually having income via like bond sales or any other means. That is the most conservative estimate. It's not as easy to sell Fox like via bonds or say even on the open market if we wanted to do that in this relatively illiquid market where also, of course, we have to part with much more Fox because we're at a low price. This is precisely like, why a big focus earlier was on, parting with Fox and bringing in stables when things were relatively, were much higher than they are now price-wise. Yeah, Firebomb. We could just take an 11-month vacation, and maybe by the time we come back, Fox will be at $1 and ETH will be at 10K. This is crypto; you never know, and the Fed will change its tune. Cool. That's it would be a low stress idea until it wasn't. Anyway, so kind of next on my agenda here we have okay. So and Headshot, this actually I'm glad this is like perfect timing here. So in terms of numbers for tomorrow's vesting token, so I want to remind everybody that one of the strategies that we can employ here for reducing our monthly spend, the first thing that comes to mind when you think about that is budget reductions, is salary reductions or cutting positions. That's part of bear market financial engineering. It's just how it goes. But it's much more preferable to begin with tactics that don't involve that. And we're in a position where we can do that thanks to Fox. So we have our Boosted Fox program, which went live just in time for June payroll. Let's see here. I need to scroll down. Willie just shared the figures with me. And again, the point of this, and I encourage you to take a look if you're interested and you're a contributor and you're interested in this. The point is to reduce our monthly USDC spend by incentivizing people to take more Fox. We have ample Fox in our treasury, and that's not a problem. The limited runway in stables is the challenge. So in addition to that, we want to incentivize people for taking more Fox and then for holding it a certain time period. There's an advantage there of reducing immediate sell pressure on the market. So if you look at the proposal that was passed recently, your options are anywhere from a 3-month lock to an 18-month lock, ranging from 5 to 30% of extra Fox. If you're bullish on the long-term prospects of Fox, this is a really nice way to accumulate some extra Fox. And you can choose which portion of pay you want. I won't go into the details too much since we're talking about tokenomics, and there's some nuance here, but I want to remind everybody, this is a really good option. I think if you're optimistic for the long term here. Okay, so final numbers, Headshot, you're asking about. So Boosted Fox, it looks like saved us a total of 24,309 in stables. So I believe that means that we will be paying out that much in USDC. Willie also says total budget for unlocked Fox is a bit higher at approximately 30K. You may want to ping him. Just I know you're getting those logistics lined up. I'm not sure about what else needs to be done, but we can communicate on that. It's encouraging to see that some people have already signed up for that. But to your point, in terms of the impact on monthly spend, this is somewhat immaterial. It helps 30K. Ideally, this thing will get traction and maybe account for maybe 10% of our monthly budget or more. I think it's realistic. Once people kind of see like the long-term potential for the DAO. So yeah. But even I don't want to dismiss 30K because I mean every amount helps in this environment, and thank you to everybody that has taken that option so far. Yeah, it's about 5%. So that's kind of the other thing to consider here is when you're looking at that spreadsheet and you're looking at our monthly spend. It's safe to assume that we could probably like take that number and reduce maybe 5 to 10% conservatively for people using the Boosted Fox option. That alone will help. And then as we've seen, a 10% reduction gives us an extra month of runway. On top of that, then it's a matter of like, okay, what else do we do? The good thing is we have stable coins right now. We have time to really assess our strategies and think through different options here. So next on the agenda, and this is something that has been super top of mind in the tokenomics channel. It's something we've been keeping a very close eye on, and it's kind of like this is kind of the downside of debt. You guys might recall that we've taken out various Rari loans to meet payroll and other expenses, and it's a very effective way to do that. The trick, of course, is when the token that you're using as collateral declines in value substantially, just as Fox has. You're looking at having to put more collateral in. When that doesn't happen, and this has happened to some big projects in DeFi many times, and especially recently, if you get liquidated, in other words, if you can't meet your collateral obligations beyond a certain point, your position gets liquidated and you get wrecked. This would, no doubt about it, us getting liquidated on one of these loans would be utterly catastrophic. It wouldn't necessarily signal the end of the DAO, but it would be a really bad day because all that Fox would get liquidated and then likely sold on the open market at some point. It's real bad and very important that we avoid that. So it's been extremely top of mind as the market goes down for us to keep those loans sufficiently collateralized by adding more Fox. The good news is we do have ample Fox in our treasury. And again, this is not spinning the Fox. This is just taking the Fox that's in our treasury and putting it into the Rari smart contract. So as Fox was declining over the past week or so, we had plans to put more collateral in when it crossed 10 cents. And then as the Celsius issue, excuse me, as the Celsius issue was really making itself known, the other night, we passed a vote on the TMDC to add more collateral. So currently, we're collateralized down to 3 cents on those. The other issue here is, we are having to service that debt. Our pool number 7, the Tetranode pool, debt service on that alone is $100K a month, which really that eats into our figures here. And that's another caveat on the spreadsheet here is it does not show the expenses like that, which eat away at our runway somewhat, although not in a massive way. But what is also important is if you add these loans up, it's a substantial amount, like something like off the top of my head, I think 2.2 million between our two loans there on Rari. So after deliberating with the TMDC, what we've decided on is to pay a small amount, relatively small amount on the pool number 7, $500,000 USDC, which of course will impact the holdings you see right here on the spreadsheet. We'll have to update that, and it does that. Unfortunately, that does constitute about a month of our current spend. But the good news is that does also save us. It does two things. It saves us money on debt service payments. And it also lowers the liquidation price. It puts us it lowers the risk of that catastrophic liquidation. So managing these loans is tricky. The fact that we have this debt in this bearish environment with a stable stack that isn't as large as we'd like, is this great? No, but I think we can be nimble about managing this, and we do have options here. Nothing is forcing our hand here. The only thing that's forcing our hand is, if that liquidation price gets closer, then we absolutely must prevent those from getting liquidated. But you can rest assured that we're keeping a super close eye on that. Many projects, it's been, or even individuals, we've seen people get wrecked because they haven't paid close enough attention, or maybe, with DAOs, they maybe just don't know what they're doing. But we're keeping a close eye on that. And we'll update as we move forward. We also, Ron, you're mentioning the liquidity, not liquidation as a service, liquidity as a service. So this is another obligation we have with respect to Tribe. So we're trying to figure out how to handle this. I think there's a way that we could sort of balance out giving them or putting Fox into this along with stable coins. This is where it gets a little bit complex. But this is another obligation that we are going to have to manage over time. But one that I think we can manage in a way that doesn't significantly change our monthly spend. So that's kind of where we're at. I'll be super honest. I wish we were in a much stronger position with respect to stables, but this is crypto. Like you rarely get exactly what you want. We've spent the past really since December stacking stables at a steady clip. The market has declined a lot faster than anybody assumed, and a lot of projects are suffering for it. But again, we are in a relatively stronger position, and I think we're going to be able to make it through this by employing various strategies here. So that's kind of it for the bear market tokenomics. One last thing I want to say, having been through multiple crypto cycles, if this is your first cycle, don't get discouraged. Like it feels like the sky is just shitting on you every day in a bear market. Everything sucks. Idiots like Peter Schiff are saying taking a victory lap, and mainstream media is full of articles talking about how crypto's dead, and your family's calling you asking you if you're okay, and oh wow, crypto sure is low, and it's a very invalidating feeling, and especially when your own perhaps your own financial fortunes aren't doing as well. Your finances are down, and then you're working for this project, this crazy DAO that, hey, this is very experimental, and oh my God, this is stressful too. But this is just part of the life cycle, the circle of life with crypto. These cycles are predictable. I've mentioned this before, but don't get too. It's impossible not to say, shit, this sucks. It really does suck, but we're going to get through this. Bear markets, they clear out a lot of the excess that forms. And I think a good analogy is like a forest fire. They clean out a lot of the underbrush and a lot of the growth or undergrowth, a lot of the hype really. And in its place, you kind of have a more tabula rasa, open palette on which the next bull market, or an open field on which the next bull market can grow. Of course, timing-wise, it's hard to predict. This could last a while, hence our need to really focus on extending that runway. But I don't think the fundamentals of crypto have ever been stronger. And the long-term value prop of ShapeShift DAO has never been stronger. So hang in there, and don't let the rest of the world get you down. Follow your heart. And if your heart is telling you this shit is cool, it's just as cool as it is now, as it was when, crypto was up at 3 trillion market cap. And we're also all in this together. When we all make it through, I think it's going to be pretty cool. Like, hey, we've been battle tested as a group, and then onward and upward. So in terms of I'm not just blowing smoke by saying, oh, okay, guys, I'm really positive about ShapeShift. I'm not trying to just speak in platitudes. There's some very specific reasons I'm bullish on this project, and why I am glad to be here, and why I'm so optimistic personally. One of the biggest reasons for being optimistic is the Fox chain. So this does not exist elsewhere in the crypto ecosystem. This idea of a decentralized node infrastructure that's incentivized via tokenomics. This idea was compelling enough to have Coinbase join us in this effort, and in the crypto space, it doesn't get bigger than that. Our partners at Coinbase see the value proposition of this. It's really powerful stuff. Of course, we're still in the formative stages of Fox chain. Once it's implemented, I think it's going to be so compelling that people will use it a lot, and by virtue of doing that, it's going to benefit Fox holders as well. Of course, that's the trick, though. How do we craft the tokenomics of Fox chain in a way that benefits all the various parties, validators, Fox holders? If we decide to use a new token, a new chain over on Cosmos, how does that work out? It gets very tricky. So that's a whole other conversation. And we've been having these conversations in the Fox Chain channel, and we'll be having more of these. But I just wanted to mention that here because it does relate to tokenomics, and it's important to get these things right, because I think the quote product itself of this decentralized node infrastructure will be very much desired coming into the coming bull market. It's easy to get cynical and say, well, do people really care about decentralization? And are people willing to even like pay a premium for that? And I would argue that decentralization is more important than ever. Look at the Celsius thing. This is not a DeFi project. There wasn't much transparency. They appear to be illiquid, or they don't have enough assets to meet their obligations. This could never happen in a DeFi project. You could see exactly where things are. And that's just one of the examples of why decentralization matters. Additionally, and I'm just spitballing here, but I suspect that the way the economics of this might work out with Fox Chain, if we can get it right, might actually offer superior economics and like cost savings over like the other ways of using node infrastructure. I don't really have any specific things to back that up. It's just a gut feel that we'll have to dig into. But just to end that topic, I'm super excited about Fox Chain, and this is one of the reasons that we have to, we want to get through this difficult period because the future is bright. Alongside that, we have this wonderful platform, this wonderful interface. It's a little bit backburnered right now, but we have a lot of interesting things we can do in the DeFi world. Tokenomics are no substitute for a product market fit, which of course the DAO is still striving for, but we're going to get there. We also have the benefit of this great community. One final thing here on my agenda, just as a quick heads up. So the current term for Foxenomics, tokenomics, work stream, that was only a 3-month period. That will be ending at the end of the month. I did 3 months because I wanted to be able to re-examine where things are at in terms of budget and whatnot. So be on the lookout for an update to that soon. It will be a 6-month period. TLDR, this is awesome. I'm not going anywhere if you guys will have me back. So we're going to craft another 6-month period because, in a way, this is like super invigorating because it's like, oh, now we have to rock out. Like shit's getting real. And in a way, like bull markets make you a little bit like lackadaisical, like, oh, there's money everywhere and, everything is easy and, it's easy to justify spending as a DAO, things on different things and like your own finances, if you hold crypto, are going up and everything seems positive. But this is time to really buckle down, and it is a little bit invigorating, I think. And amen, Professor McCarthy. The real gains, the real wealth is the friends you made along the way. 100%. Man, I don't even have anything else to say on top of that. That's very very powerful. So that's kind of my spiel for today. I hope you have a better sense of where we're at. That said, I want to invite anybody else to come up and chat or any other questions in the stage chat. It's only 4:33.
Hey Ken, I don't know if you saw my second post about starting a proposal to get more funds for TMDCs at this point. Right now, according to Josh's spreadsheet, there's about 6 million Fox left. And I would like to at least see you guys be proactive before asking for forgiveness for going over like last time.
Oh, right. So yeah, just to put this in context, guys. So we are, the TMDC is spending against its authorized amount to maintain these various. The main thing is to maintain these various positions in our loans. I think there is if you look at the original language of the TMDC proposal, it does sort of carve out the ability for us to maintain positions. But we do want to be very careful about, having enough Fox and getting that authorized by the community. So, we absolutely should get another proposal going. It doesn't need to be complex. So, Ron, you're thinking just a proposal for like another XYZ, maybe 60 million Fox for the TMDC?
Yeah, I think maybe there should be some more consideration of how much is needed for the Fox Pay loan payback that TMDC allocated, because I feel like that should be coming out of the TMDC allocation. And then also on top of that, the upcoming needs that the TMDC may have, especially if they aren't going to be paying off the loans in the entirety.
Agreed. So that's kind of a good next step for the TMDC collectively to figure out, just to spec out that proposal. We do have our second TMDC meeting on Thursday, and maybe in the meantime we can kind of talk through those things as well. But thanks for being proactive and looking ahead on that.
No problem. I'm gonna hop back to the stage.
Cool. Thanks, Ron. TMDC, if you're not aware, is Treasury Management and Diversification Committee. Kind of rolls off the tongue. Anything else, guys? Also, as a reminder, if you're ever interested in exactly what the TMDC is talking about, these are open meetings. We have them in the Treasury or the Tokenomics voice chat channel. And of course, we have the Tokenomics channel as well, where we just talk about what's going on. You can follow along. But Petro, Petro says, I think this is a good time to push Fox. Sexes, centralized exchanges are being exposed. DEXs have compromises. But over time, you just see more and more evidence that decentralization is going to be the way to go. It's transparent. It's permissionless. It has all these great properties that really the world at large just doesn't understand yet. And I think slowly the quote real world is starting to catch on to the power of these things. And eventually even very paranoid regulators, at least the ones that aren't completely slaves to the state, will actually say, hey, in terms of protecting investors and transparency, the decentralized approach is actually better because you can see what's going on. It would be much harder for like a repeat of the 2008 financial crisis to happen in DeFi because you can see where obligations are. Terra is a good example. Like, of course, nobody knew for sure what would happen with Terra, but like there were many warning signs. People were able to analyze their business model and their on-chain finances and say, okay, something is amiss. Of course, people still lost money. That was not, it didn't protect everybody, but it's an interesting contrast to the closed-door finances of TradFi. We had the Masari write-up. For everybody that contributed on that, that's awesome. Masari is, the most reputable name in the crypto research space. I saw Ryan Selkis actually tweeted something about us too. Super well-respected organization right there. And to have them discussing ShapeShift is great for our credibility and our visibility. So props to everybody that did that. I don't really have too much else to say right now, but it's fun with to be fighting this crazy battle with you guys against this bear market. We're gonna make it. Anything left in the stage chat? No. Okay. I guess we could have lo-fi backup. I always feel a little bit awkward ending these without bumper music. Oh, yes. Thank you, Professor, very much. We have SCP 83. This relates to our protocol owned liquidity on Uniswap. So basically, we're extending our liquidity mining program combined with being able to reap rewards via Bancor V3, which has provided some new ways to do this. There are some notable differences in Bancor V3 versus V2. There's also the Yieldies draft proposal. I posted that on the forum before I split for vacation. This is John's brainchild, which is an extension of kind of expansion of Foxy. Again, not super high priority right now as we deal with the bear market stuff, but also something that as we get the smart contract functionality out, this is another component that will make ShapeShift really unique. In other words, the ability to earn yield on, say ETH or USDC in a very frictionless fashion that is just so cool. Trying to think if there's anything else tokenomics in the forum. There was a really good discussion about Fox emissions, kind of this notion that wanting to maybe limit emissions via bond sales and being specifically concerned with the impact that might have on price. In my humble opinion, I don't think those concerns are too much to worry about, or at least were. Namely for the reason that so much of Fox's movement is dictated by the broader market. And again, as a long tail asset, if ETH drops, Fox is going to drop probably a lot more, and it has. That's just kind of the name of the game. Although we do have, I think, periods of relative strength. But the Fox emissions via the bond have been reduced in half, which is, I think, a good balance. Because at the same time, we want to make sure we're still accumulating stable coins. Of course, we have to issue a lot more Fox via these bonds to get stables, as opposed to when Fox was at 30 or 40 cents. But it is really important that we continue getting some income, because we want to extend that runway as much as we can, particularly when you consider that there are some debt service related expenses as well. Let's see. Petro, you're asking, when ETH goes to proof of stake, what happens with Fox, or will it stick with ETH1 or proof of work? So great question. And you're asking the right dude, because I'm a total ETH head, and I'm so geeked out about the merge. Okay, so one really important thing to understand from the standpoint of DAOs and dApps and even users of Ethereum and actually token holders is nothing, ideally, assuming everything goes smoothly, which of course is no guarantee, but it's looking good. Ideally and realistically, nothing really will change. So life will continue as normal for Fox holders and the DAO. If we're planning on implementing some sort of contract or something, we'll want to be mindful of when the actual merge is happening, because changing the consensus mechanism is a big deal. It's going to be a big fork. But for holders of ETH and ERC20 tokens, nothing will be changing. The only difference is with respect to how the consensus mechanism works. Block times will actually be more predictable, because we're going from proof of work to proof of stake. I think block times will be say every 10 seconds or something like that. But as a practical matter, you're not going to really see much of a difference. And then in terms of whether or not there will be a sort of proof of work chain that still is around, there's kind of two reasons that almost certainly won't happen. One is, everybody's going to be shifting over to proof of stake. As long as it works well, there's really no reason to stick with the old network and do some sort of Ethereum Classic 2.0. The other thing is there's something called the difficulty bomb, which will make the old chain actually unusable after a certain time period. So the developers, the ETH devs were kind of looking ahead and wanting to avoid a situation where there's some sort of zombie chain out there. That's not to say that miners couldn't get together and do some sort of Ethereum Classic classic type thing. It could happen, but I think it's very unlikely. So, yeah, don't have to worry about that. But yeah, I'm super excited about the merge. We'll be talking about that a lot more moving forward. Ron says, going to reping the second point. In hindsight, how could the TMDC have managed this position better with Faye? When we saw loads of impermanent losses, could we have handled the partnership better than we have done now? I think the answer is probably yes. With respect to liquidity as a service, I closely working on that one at the inception, but I imagine there's probably some things we could have done a little bit better, maybe like by paying off some of those amounts sooner. And then with the loans, of course, we could have paid off more. In terms of the goal for the end of June, and I put this in my proposal last time, was to have 10 million worth of stables. That would have been more like 18 months of runway. And we fell short of that, even though, of course, we have been paying from that stack in the meantime. But as the work stream leader, I do have to take responsibility for that. I do feel responsible for that. I should have pushed more heavily to accumulate stablecoins at a greater pace. I saw this bear market coming. I reacted that personally by selling some crypto myself. I thought it was very likely. I was right about that bear market. What I failed to do is I feel like I should have been much more forceful about us accumulating more stables. So, I certainly consider that when you weigh whether or not to have me back for the next 6 months. Of course, as a workstream leader, it's not like I have carte blanche over the proceedings. I don't want that. I can't have that. I never, it's not part of how the DAO works. But as a workstream leader, I do feel like I should have been more forceful about that. But here we are. I think despite not being in the best position, I do think we're going to make it. How will the lower fees make Fox token less competitive? Okay, so this is another common misconception with the merge. The merge has pretty much zero impact on scaling and on transaction fees on ETH. What you're describing is more the realm of like layer 2, where you're getting activity off chain. Of course, we use Colony, a side chain, to avoid having to pay fees for internal stuff. But the merge, and this is a very common misconception, the merge does not have anything to do with fees or scaling. Maybe we'll get like a marginal improvement because of just how block times work out, but it's really not going to change anything. Regardless of how that works out, like network fees, I think just sending an ERC20 and using Fox token should remain the same regardless of what the fee market is at. At some point, though, we really should articulate maybe like a layer 2 strategy for the DAO, because at some point in the future, I think it's likely that the main chain will get so expensive that it's really only the realm of like layer 2s who want to use that transaction fee to basically post proofs of data availability, things like that. Regular users and DAOs will likely be on L2s, or potentially, side chains like Polygon. So yeah, a lot of super interesting stuff happening there.
Hey, Kent.
Hey, Josh.
I had a question. You were talking about the yieldies a bit ago, and with the market conditions, and because I love the whole yieldies idea, it does seem a little less attractive now. And we did approve like spending $75,000 for the yieldy audit. Is that something we should reconsider, or you think? I mean, I think it's passed. I'm just wondering if it's still worth the time and effort.
Yeah, I mean that's been baked in, and that was kind of all passed and approved prior to the latest market clusterfuck. But that is baked into the monthly spend for June. I just saw that data. So basically, just to clarify on that, when it says monthly spend is 538K in that spreadsheet I made, add 75 to that for June. However, subsequent months are still in the 538 range because this is just a one-time expense. But those funds are being distributed. Some of them have been distributed to do the audit. And I kind of see that as like, this is like a relatively small amount to invest in something that, even though it might be kind of like, less than appealing right now, once we get to the next bullish environment, having a battle-tested, unique financial primitive could be really, really powerful for the DAO. So kind of just see it as like an investment in the future.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Thanks for the question. Never was is wondering, what are the plans for Ondo Finance and the delayed returns 3 to 4 months out? I haven't actually touched the Ondo side of things. I know it does relate to the liquidity of it as a service. Willie, I don't believe is here right now. He might have some insight into that. I do not have the answers in terms of specifically Ondo right now. Never was. Renob 13. I remember me and my friends in high school joking around about Renob. So does Fox have layer 2 staking? We don't really have that or need it right now. I'm assuming you mean like in terms of like staking Fox on like like a layer 2 contract. We don't currently have like integrations into some of these layer 2s like Optimism or Starkware. These ecosystems are still emerging. But that said, I think we absolutely could at some point. It might make sense, especially as more activity gravitates to layer 2s. I kind of see right now is this like interesting formative period where there is many layer 2s that are compelling. We have Optimism, Arbitrum, Starkware, and ZK Sync / Matter Labs are the main ones. They all have their different trade-offs, but oh man, I actually just retweeted something that speaks to this. Arbitrum and Optimism, which are both flavors of optimistic rollups, are already getting really impressive traction. Let me share this tweet. Optimism and Arbitrum are now at 24% of Ethereum transactions, and it's probably trending, more towards 50%. Here, I'll share my Twitter. So if you just look at where things are headed, it's very likely that L2s will be getting a much bigger chunk. So the big question then is like, where does most of the economic activity congregate around? I don't think it's going to be like a winner take all thing. It's not like going to be like, oh yay, everybody's on Arbitrum. There'll be like multiple solutions, and of course you have like bridging platforms like Hot Protocol to sort of facilitate cross-chain sort of transactions and maybe give us some semblance of the money Legos that we're so used to in the DeFi world on mainnet. But things are looking like really good for the layer 2s. I think in a way this bear market is really good for Ethereum usage because fees are down and people are using just it's easier to use mainnet, but it's also a time where these layer 2s can really build their stuff out and build a user base. And by the time the next mainstream horde comes, and I think it'll be sort of like like our wonderful former president used to say, nobody's ever seen anything like it. It'll be unprecedented. Like we had shades of mainstream adoption with NFT stuff, but next time is going to be a lot more users, and this time I think Ethereum will be prepared for it thanks to all the layer 2s. And of course you have the other chains as well, your AVAXs and your Solanas, and those layer 1s could get some activity as well. Let's see. H Payne, would it make sense to think about integrating bridges into the app? Absolutely. So this is like this was one thing that really, really excites me, is I think if you look at what's happening with layer 2s and bridges, there's going to be some opportunities to integrate these into the platform. There's inevitably some, like maybe UX frictions that arise when you're using bridges, for example, or just using layer 2s. The the ShapeShift interface could potentially reduce some of these frictions, and we could also have integrations that just do something with like a rev share type of thing, like we've had with Yearn. There's a lot of powerful stuff we can do there, and I'm biased because I'm a big Ethereum geek. I'm certainly not a maximalist, but I love Ethereum, and I think it's likely that these L2s are really going to catch fire as we move into like 2023, and I think we can really position ourselves. I don't have any specific answers in terms of what that would look like right now, but I just know we have a great interface, compelling maybe business model to do this, and the tech on the L2 side is really cool. So yeah, I think the Celsius meltdown definitely sort of underscores the value of DeFi. Not that you can't lose money in DeFi too, but yeah. Hunt says one beatbox intro. Maybe I'll do some beatboxing over lo-fi at the end. Maybe some accompanied beatbox. Yeah. Yeah, GK, we could roll our own. I mean, in a sense, if we're integrating various bridges, but doing it in a way that maybe improves on those bridges, it really is kind of like, creating some unique technology. We are affiliated with some amazing smart contract engineers who could, build out different type of functionality. Also, I feel like we have an advantage by being able to see where things are headed with the layer 2 landscape and kind of predict where things are headed. And this is one thing I want to give more thought to. It's something I used to do a lot at centralized ShapeShift, doing R&D stuff, but like really kind of see where we're at and what are the trends that are visible right now, and how does that impact maybe our what we should do with the platform or our potential product market fit. And yeah, ShapeShift Bridge would be pretty sweet. If you guys want more info about the Ethereum merge, we are going to be talking about that. We being those of us on the certified Ethereum professional committee for C4. We're going to be talking about that tomorrow at 10 o'clock Mountain Time. We're doing a session on that. So we'll be just, talking through some of the basics, dispelling some myths, and tune into that if you're interested. I can post a link to that too. So yeah, I think the main thing is like, even though it seems like everything is just awful right now, the tech is getting better and better. It's going to be there for the next bull market and the next wave of users. I'm seeing a lot of like big influencers on crypto Twitter, people that aren't usually like too emotional. You can tell even they're getting like emotional and stressed out. Just probably the same reason that any normal person in crypto is getting stressed. But, it's almost like, I feel like we must be getting close to some sort of extreme here. If even, these people that are used to crypto are getting a little bit like emotional and freaked out. There's a lot of fear around right now. And usually when there's so much fear, that's it's a sign that at least we're getting closer to the bottom. But that said, I personally expect crypto to go down somewhat more from here, but we're at some point we're gonna be at the bottom. Yeah, FUD is at all-time high equals the bottom. It's kind of like the volatility index. If you guys ever trade equities or follow that, it's the fear and greed index, kind of similar. As the volatility index gets really high, that's typically a contrarian signal that maybe it's a good time to buy. There's that saying, buy when there's blood in the streets, even when it's in your own blood. Sorry that the VIX wrecked you, Prof. The crypto, the Bitcoin fear and greed index, we're at despair. Things can last this way for a while. One possibility, and this is definitely, this is one of the reasons that we really need to be mindful of extending that runway as long as we can, is even though the pain of like daily 10% drops could end, what often happens is once the smoke clears from just getting bombarded every day, you look around you and there's this fucking rubble everywhere, and it looks really bad. And then there's just like a year or two where nothing much really happens price wise, and like there's not as many people in the space. There's been a lot of projects that have collapsed, and this is exactly what happened in like 2019, late 2018, 2019, and then it kind of even into like 2020. I think we were starting to gear up, right when coronavirus clusterfuck hit. But like bear markets can last a while, and you just wind up in these doldrums. So maybe the fear dissipates, but then you're just left with kind of just being despondent, basically. So again, we have to plan for that type of scenario and extend that runway as much as possible. Yeah, well said, Mogi. You make most of your money in a bear market, you just don't realize it. If you have dry powder, potentially it's a good place, a better time at least to maybe stake out some positions. And also, like, in a bull market, when everybody thinks you're so lucky because you managed to, you have some crypto, it's like, I see it as like, no, if you have money in a bull market, it's because you earned it, because you had the conviction to hold it through this bullshit. It takes a lot of conviction. I mean, and it gets easier as you go through different cycles, but yeah, it's crazy. Or yeah, we could just all sell to GK. I don't know, man. If you maybe you start to dollar cost average in or something, maybe these are the good prices. We'll see. Okay. Well, thanks for letting me just kind of shoot the shit there, guys. It's always fun to hang out. I really appreciate all of you. And I really appreciate this community. We're gonna make it. Yeah. I guess if we want to get Lo-Fi back up here and maybe call it a day, and maybe I'll try to do some beatboxing or something. I almost want to like sing over this actually.